What makes a good girlfriend? I believe there are subjective qualities that, well, subjectively depend on the person, right? It's the fucking definition. But I think there are some objective qualities that will determine if a girl will make a good girlfriend and wife. I think that they are pretty indisputable. I think they are universal, no matter what spectrum ideologically that you're on. And I think that you need to really take them seriously, because if you don't, your relationship will fall over because it is not supported on all three axes, right? Relationship is like a tripod, right? And so the two that most people think of when they think of a relationship, they unfortunately will group this third thing into the other two, and that is attraction, right? The two legs in the tripod are different types of attraction. One of them is physical attraction, and one of them is emotional attraction. And unfortunately, a lot of people miss the third leg, which is these objective qualities of that makes a good girlfriend, a good partner, and they'll group it into emotional attractiveness, right? So let's go over the first two, and then we'll go over the one that most people miss, the objective qualities. So you have physical attractiveness. I think that this is not something that you can replace. Some people think you can, but I don't think you should even try. Eventually, physical attractiveness will fade, right? But it is something that should be there at the outset. The most simple explanation is that the entire reason that you date people rather than just be friends with them is because of sexual attraction. And being physically attracted to someone is a large part of that. It's not the only thing, but it is a large part of it, especially I think for men. I think men are overwhelmingly more visual than women. Doesn't mean women aren't into hot guys physically, okay? Only an idiot would argue that. But I think that men are a bit more focused on physical qualities. Not by a huge amount, but definitely more than the average woman. But I don't think it is something that should be sacrificed. So it is very important. It's not shallow. I don't think it's necessarily worse than emotional attraction. I think that they are just different shades of attraction. And it is a legitimate concern that you should very much care about. You should date someone who you're very attracted to. But that is subjective. Because someone could show me who they think is a 10 out of 10 and I think they're a 7, and vice versa. I can show them my 10 and they think they're a 7. Some people think that they have found objective beauty. I challenge that person to give me a scale with very clear metrics, and there should be one person at the top who is indisputably, according to every single person on earth, the most attractive, because it is objective. But that's impossible. No one is going to provide that. It is very much subjective. I think there are certain ends of the spectrum that are pretty objective as well, like someone who's pretty universally unattractive. But I think you'd be surprised by how far people's tastes can vary. Now, emotional attractiveness, I think this is even more subjective. Some people are really into people with, fucked up senses of humor, right? Really edgy senses of humor, whereas some people find it really appalling and unattractive. Some people like very creative, wild, passionate personalities, while other people like more refined, kind of aristocratic kind of comportments and behavioral traits. Some people like quiet people. Some people want talkative people, or some people want the opposite of what they are, right? The talkative person wants a quiet person. The quiet person wants a talkative person, right? There's all sorts of different things that you can find attractive behaviorally, personality-wise, their intelligence. Some people really care about intelligence. Some people don't. Some people care more about your charisma, right? So whatever it is that you're into, you're fucking into it. Just like whatever you're into physically, you're fucking into it, okay? But this third quality, these objective qualities, unfortunately, I think a lot of people group it into the we'll call like the personality chemistry part, the emotional attraction, because they'll see someone they're attracted to emotionally. They'll kind of have this idea that it's like, oh, this is deeper than physical attraction, right? It's not shallow, right? And they'll think that this makes them compatible for the long term. And in some ways it does. So you're going to enjoy being around that person. But if they don't have these objective qualities, what's going to happen is that even though you enjoy being around them when things are, it's sort of like, it's fun to be around that person when things are good. But when things are bad, it's really not fun to be around that person because they don't have these good qualities and they are going to cause a lot of toxic behavior that is going to drown out any attraction that I have for them physically or emotionally. But because they are mostly wrapped up in their attraction, because most people do not have the ability to have self-restraint, especially when the person's really attractive to them. They don't have the ability to restrain themselves and have self-awareness and go, okay, am I just attracted to this person, or does this person actually make a good partner? That ability is very, very, very rare, right? And what's interesting is that probably the higher you get in terms of your ability to get higher value people, at least by your book, right? You can get hotter girls, cooler girls, whatever. You probably start to think your shit doesn't stink and you get very confident in yourself. And because you're around people that you're also so attracted to, you have this pride and ego, but also this huge amount of attraction, and that just blinds the shit out of you. And then you lose the ability to go, okay, this person just objectively is not a good person, right? That's sort of like the point of this video, is that you're really attracted to them, but they're just not a good person. Because a lot of these traits that are objective, good girlfriend, wife things, pretty much, it mostly have to do with they're a good person, right? And so these are the things that I think make a good girlfriend universally, objectively, and I would be very hard pressed to concede that any of these are bad. I think you would have to be pretty fucking retarded to say that any of these are bad things, right? So the three ways that these traits of what makes you a good person are going to sort of express themselves are going to be traits that prevent infidelity or betrayal, traits that create a cooperative environment rather than a combative environment, and then similarly, but I think it's worth its own little category, traits that are going to make you a better man, right? These are personality traits that, just like in a friend, make you better because being their friend, inspires you, or they outright actually go out of their way to help you, right? So they're willing to work with you, they want to help you, and they're very unlikely to betray you. You can never really 100% say someone will never betray you, but you are pretty sure. And the only way that we're going to find these traits, right, is we're going to watch how she treats us. We're going to watch how she treats her friends. We're going to watch how she treats herself, how she treats her family, or even how she treats strangers. And we're going to be observing these qualities, and we're going to be looking for mistakes. We're going to be looking for good moves, and we're going to be looking for, inconsistencies, because everyone's going to make some mistakes, and everyone's going to probably do something right? Or else they, the jig would be up, right? And they would be very transparent in the fact that they're a shitty person. So first thing is preventing infidelity, right? You want to get into business with someone who is trustworthy, someone who's not going to steal from the business, someone who's not going to fuck you over with the shares or with the profits, right? You get the metaphor. And the two times where you're kind of looking for infidelity prone traits are going to be when things get tough between you two, right? Does she have the tendency to jump ship and just immediately abandon whenever things get hard? Or two, when she's really attracted to someone else. So either things are really bad right here, and so she's just looking to get out, and people, not just women, but men also, but people will jump ship and then jump to a different ship like That's their exit. They're not going to just jump in the water and just be alone. They're going to jump to another ship, right? Because they want to find their backup plan before they escape from this ship. Or they're riding by with you, and then there's this fucking yacht next to them, and they're like, that's better, I'm going to jump to it, right? Hypergamy, right? So monkey branching and a hypergamy. That's the terms that you've probably heard before, right? So we're going to be looking for traits that show that they're not prone to this, right? So what are the traits that are anti-infidelity? Self-restraint, discipline, impulse control, not into drinking and drugs so much because those lower your inhibitions, attention-seeking behavior, thrill-seeking behavior, right? This constant need to always get more and more, like she's just obsessed with sensation, right? So you need to look at her life, her hobbies, what she chooses to watch, what she chooses to read, what she chooses to do, who she chooses to spend time around, her friends, her family, strangers, people that she tends to be attracted to, either, you know, romantically and sexually or on a friendship level. Like, who does she like to be around? So we're going to be watching these things, and we're going to say, is she prone to discipline or a lack of discipline? Is she prone to self-restraint or to give in to impulse control? Is, does she give in to intoxication a lot? Does she have attention-seeking behavior? Because if you have attention-seeking behavior, you're going to be, it's sort of like a passive advertising, right? Like if she's always posting pics on her social media, and the more risque they are, the more likely this shows her personality. What you can bullshit all you want, right? I'm very intellectual with the way I talk, but also shoot straight. Like if she's just advertising herself all the time, you can bullshit me and be like, oh, I'm doing it for myself. Shut the fuck up. Like, you are literally advertising your body. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But that's not going to make a good long-term partner, because they're constantly needing that validation. And maybe for a long time, just the likes and the comments and the DMs will do the trick. But eventually, the highest level of validation is a hard dick in her pussy, right? So she's eventually going to be craving that. And unfortunately, when a really attractive guy to her comes along, that's going to make it that much. She might have this much self-restraint, but like a guy comes along and he's this, she might not be ready to resist that. Now, if she has morality, she's going to break up with you before she jumps ship. But that's also like something you have to look. Does she seem like a person who betrays people? Does she have a history of cheating? Does she have a history of lying? Does she have a history of deceiving? Right? You're going to be watching these traits and seeing, has she engaged in these behaviors? Well, we're going to have to judge people by their past because you don't have anything else to go off of. Right? And if you start to see skeletons in a closet, but you see good behavior now, you should be suspicious, because she might just be really good at fucking lying and making, a good show. Right? Now, I'm not saying that people can't be redeemed, okay? But the question is, how much are you willing to risk for her to be the 1 in a million redemption story, right? So look for these traits, and if you see a lack of them, be very, very afraid. And it's very hard to. The thing is, once you start to see these behaviors, or these lack of good traits, these lack of good girlfriend quality traits, it's very difficult to resist, because these other two parts of the tripod are so strong. Like, you're just so attracted to them, and I get it. Like, I've been so attracted to someone who like did not have those good qualities, but I was like, ugh, and like with a few of the girls, like I actually cried because I wanted so bad to just give in. I wanted so much to just surrender to the fucking infatuation. But luckily, I was able to resist every time. Or even if I did start dating them, I was able to break away when I got in too deep. But not a lot of people can do that. And the easiest time to do it is before the addiction fully kicks in. That's why sex is very dangerous, right? It's very hard for me to peddle like a Puritan view of sexuality to say that, you know, you should wait until you're in a relationship or until marriage, for a lot of different reasons. But one of the main reasons that I might be in favor of it, not saying I am completely, but one of the positives of waiting to have sex is that you could potentially cut off a lot of attachment, because once you're getting your dick sucked by that really hot girl but who's full of red flags, ooh, like, it's very addicting, right? A lot of these girls who I was very drawn to, their pussy was heroin. I just loved having sex with them, right? I think it made it harder. Now, do I regret doing it though? I don't know, because it was pretty amazing, right? It's a great experience to have. So that's a whole nother discussion. But once you do see these bad behaviors, you're going to have to, like, if you don't trust yourself to continue seeing her, especially if you're having sex, then you have to rip the cord and you have to be like, this is bad. I need to get out. And you just, you know, try and do it as compassionately as possible, but you need to get out before the addiction fully like sets in. Right. The second thing is, does she have traits that creates a cooperative environment? Right. Because you could have someone who won't cheat on you. Right. But that's not the entirety of what makes a good girlfriend. Right. I'm really attracted to her and she won't cheat on me. That's it. Well, that's like most of it, but there's still a few other parts of it. Like, you want someone who's creating a cooperative environment, right? You want someone, because you're still going to have problems, right? You're never going to have a problem-free relationship. So the biggest trait here is a willingness to negotiate and to compromise, right? And someone who has mature communication skills, right? That's the other part of it. Like, can she communicate her feelings? Does she have the ability to be transparent with how she feels and to use good language, right? Or is she just like says, you know, stream of consciousness and doesn't know how to fucking, you know, articulate? That's a very unattractive quality for someone in the long term, because it's going to be very hard to work through problems with someone who is unwilling to negotiate, right? You know, are they prone to arguing against you? Or they're going to argue with you, right? They're going to, you know, they're going to be like somewhat combative on the surface, but they're going to be like, hey, you know, we can work through this. Or at least they're open to you if you try to play the role of negotiator, right? So when the best way you see this is watch how she deals with problems with her friends, with her family. But, you know, like, everyone's going to be like stubborn and, you know, huff and puff and this and that. Like, everyone's going to have their human foibles. But does, you know, when the chips are down and when things, you know, settle down, is she going to be like, okay, hey, let's talk about this, right? That's a very, very important trait, because you're going to have problems, but she needs to have good problem solving skills, or at least a willingness. And then the last one is she going to make you a better man, right? Does she have a nurturing, caring energy, right? She needs to bring that feminine energy. Okay, men and women are not the same. If you think so, suck a dick. No interest in discussing this. Like, men are bringing a certain energy to the relationship, and women are bringing a certain energy to the relationship. And this nurturing, caring energy is super vital. And if she can't provide that, ugh, right? She can have a lot of good traits, but if she kind of just doesn't have this, like, you know, I want to take care of you kind of energy, that's not going to be good, right? For a long-term relationship, because you're going to be missing, you know, that you're going to be missing that energy. I don't need to explain it anymore. Is she prone to lifting you up or putting you down? Right? She can be critical of you. And this is actually a really good trait, right? A woman who is, I mean, generally the man is going to be more dominant in the relationship and the woman is going to be a little more submissive, but that should never be seen as like an extreme stance where, like, she just never voices her opinion. I think that's you can joke about it and be like, yeah, I would love a bitch who just sucks my dick and shuts the fuck up, but that doesn't actually end up making a good, here's the counter to it, right? How is she going to be a mother? It's a pretty fucking, like, she's going to make a dog shit mother. She's not going to have the ability to ever, you know, tell you when you're wrong. when it comes to parenting a kid. If she can't stand, how's she going to stand up to a kid if she can't stand up to you sometimes, right? Because you're going to be wrong sometimes, right? And if your bitch doesn't have the balls to stand up for herself, she's going to make a shit fucking kid. So you can think you're fucking alpha big man, but you're dating a slave, right? So we have to have a nuanced view of this. I do think the man is dominant in the relationship, but don't take that so far that you become fucking retarded, right? So you do need to have a woman who's willing to be critical and who's willing to help you. And it doesn't mean she's like coming to you with like a list of things you need to fucking work on, right? Let's be realistic about this. It just means that occasionally she can call you out on your shit, right? And she's willing to say, hey, I think you're doing this and I think you can do better, right? Because that is part of lifting someone up. It's part of being a good friend. Someone who doesn't point out when they think that you're doing something wrong. But there's a difference between that nagging cunt who's like, you need to do this, da-da-da-da. No, I'm not saying that either, right? I'm not prone to these extremes, right? I've found the middle way, right? What it is it's someone who maybe when you're making a mistake, they're just to kind of stay quiet, and especially when there's other people around, right? She's not going to call you out and make you look bad in front of other people because she's lifting you up, not putting you down. But then when you're in private, she might go, hey, you know what? You said this earlier, and I, and then she'll explain. And the essence of it is that she knows you're better than that, right? And she wants to bring the best out of you, right? Also, she herself is a high-value woman, right? Which means she has a lot of these good traits that we've gone over, right? Or at least she's working on them. That by itself is going to passively be an inspiration to you, right? Being around a good woman is going to make you want to be a better man without her having to say anything a lot of times. Because you're just going to be around her and she's going to inspire you. Because when you're around really cool people, they inspire you just because of who the fuck they are. And when you're around the right woman, she's going to have that effect on you, right? So these traits, you would have to be pretty stupid to like say I was wrong with any of these traits. You may not 100% agree on how, to observe them all the time. You might say, well, this shows that quality better than this, right? But you would be hard-pressed to be like, oh, I don't want someone who's trustworthy, right? I don't want someone who's going to inspire me. I don't want someone who's going to lift me up rather than put me down, right? These are pretty objective fucking traits. Whereas the other two, the physical and emotional attractiveness, those are a bit subjective because one person says this, another person says this. But these traits, as objective as they can get. So what makes a good girlfriend is a woman who has these traits. What makes a bad girlfriend is a woman who lacks these traits. Everyone has to be where they are right now. And I think that people can change and can improve. And I think people have the potential for redemption stories. But if I'm getting into business with someone, most of the time it's good to just get with someone who already has those good traits rather than risking your own time and money and energy and sanity on someone who might get better in the future, right? So, it's your life. So do with it what you will. But as someone who does this professionally and he sees a lot of relationships and has spent most of his life figuring this shit out, just go with the good bet. Go with the safe bet. All right? Cool. So, wish you guys the best of luck. That's the video. I love you. Hector Castillo. I'll see you soon. Ciao. Bye.